Hi Heather, I pictured your thumbnail from assignment 3 last week here for comparison between these two versions of the idea. You know, I can see that the color set is leaning more toward red now, which is fine, that's nice. However, this cloudiness around the edges, I'm not sure if that's a benefit, sort of like a haze around the otherwise crisp geometric rays. Um, some ideas. Maybe this needs to be amended in a more concrete way. Window frame, suggestion of a city, suggestion of the music you like to listen to when the sun is setting. Also, when I click on this, I see yellow-orange, I believe, so you could include that. Hi, Rachelle, I see you've switched your design. This is from a different one of your thumbnails from assignment 2 last week. Okay, let's talk about the harmony. I see yellow-orange in here, not a color you point to. I also see a straight cyan or tints or shades of that, and I see a straight blue and tints or tones of that. So you have to adhere to the colors you're selecting. If you want a split complementary harmony, use only tints, tones, or shades from the very color picker field of that hue you're pointing to, that cyan blue, and the same goes for your orange and your red. Now, I still have concern about your resolution. This resolution should be a little better, as I have said before. Photoshop will permit you to increase the size of an existing file, but the results always look poor. You have to start with a good resolution or rebuild your design. Well, hi Amanda, you've really progressed with this design. All those flowers add a lot of interest. Now, let's see a couple of things. On the far wing that you've added there for the hummingbird, you might try to use colors that are tones. Where there's less contrast, things look farther away. Another little idea I had for you is to think about the feet. It's not very clear what's going on with the feet. You might want to just omit them. And then last of all, I'm thinking that the beak, if it's actually sipping nectar from a flower, there could be more contrast at the point of the beak. Hi, Paulina. I was mistaken. I thought that in thumbnails you presented for week 5, assignment 3, there was a stroke color shift. Now, I know you're working in Illustrator, and I want to encourage you to play with the stroke. Below here, you see a sample where I am showing people how to remove stroke. I also show how to make the stroke wide and to change its color. I'd like you to work with that. Right now, this design hasn't changed enough from what it was in week 5 to qualify as a new design that will earn you the points you want. A couple more things. I'm wondering if stroke can be removed from the checkerboard pattern at the rear. It would also be great if that checkerboard was better lined up. How could you do that? Maybe you could just make 2 rows, nice and neat, maybe using guides, and then copy and paste until you had the full background. Let's look at the smallest flower. What are those little bits of pink there behind it? Why are they there? Maybe you could check into that. I want you to take great care with resolution. I am seeing a few artifacts in here, and I have shown this at the size you presented it. So see what you can do, maybe save for web at a higher setting. Kelly, this is a really excellent job of advancing the design. It's looking very fine. There are a couple of small items I'd like you to address if you can find the time today. First of all, let's look at the wings that hold the candles. I say wings because they're reminding me a little bit of airplane wings. I think in a chandelier there might be 4 such arms, one extending forward and one extending toward the rear. And I think maybe you could consider that and play with the size of the candles as if they were seen in perspective. Another possibility is you could show the arms as an X that has a very obtuse angle on top and bottom, and that might do the job too. Then when I take a look at those topmost arms, at the very ends of them, there's a tiny fragment of a shape that would probably be best left out. And finally, I'm thinking the whole chandelier might be heavy, weighty, and that makes me consider that the dots that stand for a chain at top should all be lined up very vertical. They don't have to be the same size, but if they're very vertical, it's going to imply weight and the effect of gravity. Likewise, that pendant at the very bottom, the oval shape, might also pull its chain of dots straight and taut. Marie, hi. Really like your designs. In past, I've seen students add a background or a frame to their design to try to dress it up for week 6. However, that's not really what we're looking for. We need a change to the design itself. The design itself needs to be bettered. Another thing I wanted to suggest is that monochrome is perhaps the simplest of the color harmonies, and you had some beautiful things going with 3 or more colors. I'd like to encourage you to go in a direction where you'll use more than one hue. Sharon, this is a super utilization of elements from another thumbnail to add complexity to your final project. This line work is suggesting a cage, like a bird cage, and I was wondering if you can work with transparency and possibly layers so that some of the arbitrary shapes that we saw in assignment 3 are above or below the cage-like new line work. Hi, Zara. I want to attract Paulina's attention to the way that you've been using strokes here. It seems like you're working in Illustrator and changing stroke color. Also, I noticed that you have centered the image within the frame, which is a good thing. I was wondering, though, why should the frame be rectangular? It's a rather elaborate frame. What does this rectangular series of color shapes have to do with the image? Maybe it could be a shape other than a rectangle. What's more is I did see some beautiful images of heads back in your assignment 2 thumbnails. And just in case you had the time, I wouldn't mind seeing you revise the shape or profile for this face, making it look a little more like something in the thumbnail, or maybe even cutting and pasting something from the thumbnail into this, if you can manage it. Oh, and one last little thing. What's that word triad doing in the composition? Do you really think that that looks good there?